Hello, folks. I'm L.A. Little, and this is your daily TA Wrap, where we take a look at these markets from a neoclassical perspective and ask ourselves what happened today and what does it tell us about tomorrow. You know, I do this show 4 times a week. I do it Monday through Thursday, live at 9 o'clock Eastern Time here from the base of a rainy but beautiful Rocky Mountains. Folks, we got quite a bit of a thunderstorm kicking up here. Hopefully it won't interfere with the show. If it does, if I disappear, that is what is happening. As you can see here on the front page, Pi Cycle. Interesting article I published, I don't know, 7-8 months ago. It was actually an article about Martin Armstrong. If you don't have to, if you haven't read it and you have some time, you got to check it out. This guy's life is as interesting as his work. It's a fascinating read. It's actually one of my more, I'm not sure what the adjective is, but it's always intrigued me, I guess is the word. And today, according to the Pi Cycle, as a member reminded me this morning, we should have a top in the market. So we'll see if it works out. I'm not so crazy about the long-term cyclical theories. This is what this is, but it has a pretty interesting track record. So as far as today, what happened, if we look at the markets and zero in on those, what we're going to find is a whole lot of nothing. Markets pretty much just went sideways. Let's get where's my numbers? Here we go. Dow Jones down, 6 whole points. 0.04%. 15,419 was the close. The S&P's lost almost 1689. And then we had the strength sectors continuing to show strength, in particular the composite and the NDX. Apple was the big mover there, and we had the strength in the chips. NDX was up 7 points, 31.25, 31.26 roughly. Composite up almost 10, 36.70 roughly. And the Russell was actually the winner today, 0.5%, up 5.25. 10.5368. Elsewhere, gold was up big today. It's flat after hours. Oil, I don't even remember what oil did. We'll see here in a minute. It's flat after hours as well. Everything's flat after hours, but dollar bounced a bit, and we had the bonds down today. So kind of a mismatch of changes in terms of the markets. Let's go in and look at the S&P. Let's see what we've got going here, and if there's anything going to give us a tell as to what's happening. So if we look at the S&P 500, today we go underneath the low from last week. That low was 1684.91. We got as low as 1683.35. Both of those took us back into that swing point high. That's the big bar we keep playing with. Of course, we went over it, didn't have the volume. That was this transition here. We've retested and regenerated already, so there's no retest regen going on at this point. It's simply a support zone. We're coming back into it with lighter volume, as you can see, and that support zone so far is holding. So S&P's push up, can't hold, drift down. Now they're just going sideways. The infinite up has become the infinite hang. We've seen this before. Matter of fact, we've seen all these infinitum type scenarios play out and continuing to play out. If I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, it's under, it's back over, it holds, it's probably going to try to bounce. If I look at the Dow Jones, basically the same thing, much weaker, but it's actually not the same thing. It's much weaker inside day, doji, but it's been down. Now you get a doji inside day. You can probably get a bounce here back up into resistance. Now the Dow is a different beast because the Dow is into the big bar and is wallowing in it. It's the only one doing it. If we look at the strong sectors, the composite, and I don't know if you're noticing, but volume's tailing off every day, as we go into the summer months, the heat of the summer. 69.95 was the close. I didn't get to the lows of last week, so we haven't even done the retest regen yet. Volumes are light. You push back up. Honestly, it doesn't tell me anything. NDX, same thing. You push down. You start. Actually, they all gapped down this morning, and then they went straight up like a rocket, and then they held all day and kind of squeezed slightly at the end to higher highs, towards the highs at the end of the day. There's no volume here, doing exactly what the broader composite's doing. The real story inside this group was Apple. Apple was up. They got a new launch of an iPhone that was leaked today. This coming up in another month or two. So that's what pushed this. We got some decent volume. It's going to go up and attack the highs again. So Apple, nice big push, decent volume too. So you have to expect that Apple's going to continue to try to push here, and we'll see how high it can get. The other ones that benefited from it were chips, and chips got a nice little bounce after not a huge, but a significant straightaway decline. They've got a resistance up here, so we'll see how they deal with it. But these are just bounces. That doesn't mean they're going to carry. If I look at the instead of the IWM, let's look at the Russell. So if I pull up the Russell, volume tailing off, right? You got underneath the low from last week, 1042.65. You got the 1042. Oh, you didn't get under it. You got the 1042.79. So we didn't quite get underneath the lows. We did get over the highs. We're back into resistance. We're coming back up against the big bars that are going to be up there around 1062 if they can get that high. What does this tell me? Doesn't tell me anything either. So all we have is sideways action. Sideways action can be consolidation, or it could be distribution. You never really know that until you get far enough to see a test that actually breaks one side or the other, and so far we haven't had that test. The real test here on the downside in all of the stronger sectors would be the first retest regenerate of breakout areas. The Russell, as you can see, is the farthest away from all of them, having to come all the way back here to get a retest regen. That price point's 10,008, where it's still hanging at 10,053. That would be a fairly significant move down, 4.5–5%, just to get the retest. If we go to the broad composite, it's not nearly as bad, but it's a decent percentage to get back. It's a good percent or so. So we'll see. We'll see if they want to come back. Right now, indexes, other than the S&P getting over and the NDX, slight bias to the upside. Let's see what the sectors show us. And I suspect, I haven't looked at them, but I suspect they're going to show the same thing. I don't think there's going to be much of a tell today. And if not, I'm going to flip to some other things. So IYT, no volume, you go down, you bounce, there's really nothing there. SOX we already looked at, there's really nothing there. XLB, let's see what the materials, because the materials are pushing on China. Big news out of China is supposedly, leaked last night. Central government there is funding provinces, trying to boost investment. And so you're seeing China come in and try to do the soft landing thing, right, and turn things around and go back the other way. So this one's kind of interesting. It didn't get much of a lift today, though. So XLB still wants to try to test this big bar, 41.61. XLE, this is the sector that should try to push higher and can't. So that's somewhat of a tell. XLF actually came back and did the retest regen today. Let's see where it closed. 2032, that high was 2035. That's interesting. So you're back to do the retest regenerate and you close inside the swing point high. This may be our canary. We've been talking about it for a while because you had divergence, you couldn't get a new high, and now you're into into that bar, that means we're going to set up an ABCD down here, doesn't it? 2034, 2034. Yeah, so you got an ABCD down. Let's see how far it measures. 2083, 2084, 34. That's roughly 50. 50 off of this gives you 11. 2011 takes you into here. What's it, 2011? Right into that bar. Yeah, it looks like a good price point. So it looks to me like, you know, if you get a little bit more push here, get that ABCD going, you could extend down. Let's see if any other ones have an ABCD down. So the XLE was close, right? Doesn't have it yet, but it's almost there, just about. And the XLB is the opposite. XLI, let's see what this one looks like. Nothing happening there. It's still hanging pretty nicely. XLK had done a failure, but then today they came back up, and they're right back up there going to try to test again. We'll see if Apple can push them up farther in the stocks. And here's a small ABCD down, but you can't even hardly measure it. It's not going to measure it anything. And that's just a big range trade still with the consumer. And utilities, that's almost an ABCD down. It would be a small one though from this price point. So nothing there really. XLV, these guys have been hanging. Let's see what they did today. Now they have an ABCD down. Let's see, that low is 50.75, 50.69. So the high, 51.50. So it's really 75 points off of here. That gets you about, what is that, 50, 50, 50 or so, 50, 50, 60. And we're at, no, that's not right. What is that? 51, take 75 off of that. Yeah, it's right in there. So it's just going to come into this high and do the retest regen. So it looks like the target is this high, 50.40. So not too much, but it would get back into there. And that's probably going to be a buy, folks. Yeah, it's actually, you already had a retest. So it's not as clean, 50.20. Yeah, you've already had your retest regen right there. That's a swing point low, that's support. Still, it's probably going to be a buy there. So the XLV can move down a little bit farther. So you can see here, even though we've got one ABCD down, actually two, there's really not much to them. They're not going to carry that far. So, you know, this week is shaping up to be a sideways week is the way it's shaping up to me. Just quickly glancing at these. Let me quickly look at the OX markets and see if there's anything there. And then I'm going to take any questions you might have and answer a question I had asked of me today, which was an interesting one and one that I should share with you. So let's start here. Let's see what we got. So gold market was up. Let's start with gold. So the gold market has been trying to push down, right? Then flipped around, went straight up. Couldn't get, you know, gapped up there and just hung all day is what it did. It's trying to get back up that swing point high, which is going to test these lows. That's where that little red line is you see there, right about where my cursor is now. That zone is the resistance. It's off of these big highs over here, this bar and this bar. So that's the May 20th bar and the May 22nd bar. The low of each creates a small, tiny resistance zone. The gold wants to try to get up there. It tested this low, held support, flipped around. Now you got a nice little spurt back up. We were looking at the GDX, the miners, and the small miners. You can see they're doing the same thing. They actually had a nice push in volume. And the GDXJ also is actually over its swing point high. So you get a trend transition here. These miners continue to look interesting to me. And if you're not playing them, you're missing probably a good shot at playing some. 44.64 closed at 45.11, so it's over with volume. Or does it 1.6, 1.62? Yeah, just barely. So that's a big ABCD up, right? It's not a big one, but it's a decent one. I'm trying to look at it here, and it actually is not. You got to reset, so you'd have to go to a weekly to get it. You'd have one on the weekly. not on daily. Silver, let's see how silver did. Silver actually pushed pretty good today. Yeah, look at that spike. Oh, wow. I knew it was up. I didn't realize, I didn't look at the charts today. That's a big move. That's going to go back in and do a retest regens over the highs. And this is all China news, right? You know, with China moving, you're finally getting this. That would tell me that copper probably moved as well. Not much. It already had a decent spike up. So copper's still hanging. How about oil? Oil traded slightly higher, not much. Looks like it's going to fail there. Let's see what the dollar looks like. I like that gold and silver charts. Gold can carry more. Silver's already made a nice move. We'll get a little follow through, then it's probably going to have difficulty. So the dollar pushes up into resistance, and that low was here, 22.03, got to 22.02. Not enough volume. 22, closed at 22. Well, it held into resistance. That's a start in terms of a dollar. If you're a dollar bull, let's see what the euro did. And so much anymore, these currencies aren't affecting our market. They used to, but they're not much anymore. The dollar's been strong and weak, while the currency, I mean the general market, just holds. So this is coming back to test. 131.39 got to 131.51. I believe what you're going to see tomorrow is you're going to see it actually do the test somewhere between the low of the June 19th bar and the July 31st bar, and I would think it's going to find support there and bounce, or at least try to. That would be the way that one shapes up. Okay, let me flip over to a different thing. And what I want to do now is I had a question today. It was an interesting question, and it had to do with the question had to do with spread trades. And when you're looking at spread trades, what you're doing, you know, spreads and hedges, sometimes the terms get mixed up. A hedge is where you're taking two positions that typically move opposite of each other, and you're hedging one against the other one. So in other words, you're buying time. Maybe you're wanting to hold something longer term, and short term you want to buy time, right? So you take out basically an insurance policy and you hedge. A spread is different. A spread says that I have some sort of a longer term relationship that has held over time, but for whatever reason it has spread farther and farther apart. For example, I have the gold and the euro up. We had seen historically, and I'm going to pull this by 5 years, we had seen a strong euro correlated with the gold market. So as the euro pushed up here, the gold market went up. As the gold market came down, the euro come down. Then you had some divergence there. You can see it, right? But then the euro starts to catch back up again, right? You can kind of see the correlation. Even though in this particular case, you know, we're talking about a wide difference between the two. Now you could see a better case of this if you took and put, get my comparison chart up here. If you took and put something else in, so instead of the FXE, let's put, we have gold up. Let's put a gold stocks up, GDX. So if we add GDX here, you can see a tight relationship here between them, right? GDX being in blue, gold being in black. So when you have a relationship where, for whatever reason, there's a divergence between them, and historically the relationship is that they move in tandem, a spread trade says, I'm going to look for that relationship to go back to what it used to be. overvalued, expecting them to close the gap. And I would make the difference, in this case, it's talking about 80%. I mean, it's not small. The thing that you're basing all this on is the fact that whatever that relationship was still holds, but has been distorted. Right? That's the whole idea. And right now, with the market as it is, with all the distortions that have been caused by the central bankers worldwide,